The election is now over. A hard and at times bitter campaign has come to an end. On the results, the People's National Congress, in the interests of peace and stability in Guyana, has agreed with the support of the United Force to form the government. One of the more serious tasks facing us at this moment is the attainment of independence at the earliest point of time. One of the disturbing features of the election, which we have noted, is the apparent cleavage existing in our society, brought about by colonialism and 7 years of mismanagement and misrule. It has come to our knowledge that despite the years of disaster suffered by the people of this country, a large section of the electorate was persuaded against its best interests to vote for the party formerly in power as a result of the dishonest and opportunist propaganda that, unless that party was returned to power, those people would suffer. The new government, headed by me, intends to show by its actions in the immediate future, and indeed throughout its term of office, that this is not true. The problem of racial cleavage, racial antagonism, and distrust, which the last government allowed to develop during its term of office, is still with us. But our government recognizes this as a challenge which it intends to accept and which it is determined to overcome. My government considers that it is a matter of the greatest importance and the utmost urgency that an atmosphere of relaxation be established immediately. The reduction of tension, which is already apparent and which will become more pronounced with every passing day, when it is realized that not only are we intent on being fair and just, but also that we have at our disposal the means to carry out our intention, is merely the first fruits of our attainment of office.
Basement, level vibes, with another one, straight up, blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for you.
Sea-washed, sun-kissed strand, or down upon the borders, looking out upon the deep, the great Atlantic light of fury, or asleep at morn, at noon, better in the crimson sunset's glow. Love thee, love. Oh, beautiful Guyana, oh my lovely native land, more dear to me than all the world, thy sea-washed, sun-kissed strand. Or down upon the borders, looking out upon the deep, the great Atlantic blade to a fury, or asleep at morn, at noon, or better in the crimson sunset's glow.
Yeah, my name is Jasnity Kaldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data. I have none.
Here in Guyana.
Here in Guyana?
You see them advantage why you take for them people and they give some square peg contract and then can't sign them name?
What?
You see them advantage why you take for them people and they give some square peg contract and then can't sign them name? You see what going on with the project them right now? Things are going on. The project them is they got no standard, cheap material. Some of you contractor them in this region here can't read them right. They can't read on inch in imperial measurement. They will do it in metric. They can't do that. You full them up with contract. They buy tundra, they buy truck, they buy excavator, them start eat food, then get big and fat. You know, them thing wrong. And the people who can do the work, now get the work. None of them mechanics can beat me and my son for work in this region. Bring them up. None of them. And the community knows that, and they're giving us work. And you got them scrapping the government bike, the government tractor. You got them scrapping there. Go to the RDC and you're going to see. What?
All right, hey, good night. Guess what? It's straight up on 107.1 FM. Lots of things happening. I just rushed into the studio here, and Lemon is bright, and it's he's all right over there. Just swing the camera around. How many of you have been asking to see Lemon? But that's not going to be a big topic of tonight. We're just going to do what we have to do, whether you get to see Lemon or not. But what you get to see, though, you get to see all of the candidates running or have been nominated. And now let's break this thing down for some of you, because this nomination day might be a new thing for some of you. It might be the first time some of you are watching or getting to understand the nomination, what nomination day is all about. It might be the first time that some of you got a chance to see what Congress Place looks like. Good night to all of you. Thank you so much. Good night to every single one of you. I'm not going to run through the list. This is not a roll call. We respect your your opinions and so forth. And we just ask that you keep it clean, keep it professional. Otherwise, you are going in the trenches. We are not going to be distracted. There's not going to be no fighting. This is not the Fighting Network. This is not the Shades Net. Shades. Sorry about that. You can throw your shades, but it's not going to be any insults and derogatory remarks and pulling down of any of the candidates. It's not going to happen here, guys. We're closing in. And as we close in now, we got to throw the little vindictive approach to things out of the door, so to speak. So come good. Otherwise, you're going to have to go somewhere else. Some of you may like it. Some of you may not like it. But I will throw back and say, well, such is life. You win some, you lose some. Now, these are the persons who have been nominated. They have been nominated. That's all. They have been. So what they're going to have to do, they tally everything now. And as you've heard earlier, Hamilton Green, the former prime minister, explained to you guys. I was going to try to get the former prime minister again, but maybe I'll have him tomorrow night. He explained, some of you who do not understand the process and who think that maybe everyone who just happened to be members of the People's National Congress reform, that have, anyone that has, a membership card and that you've been paying your membership due. If you haven't been dues, well then, and you're no longer a paid member, an active member. It simply means that you got to sit this one out. Now, the groups, there are 218 groups across the 10 regions. 218 groups. And of those groups, they have to nominate a leader, someone they want to contest. And 177 have nominated. 100. We have a bell that's ringing whenever that bell rings. Mushe Chink, whoever Mushe Chink is. Mushe Chink. This is not about beating and teaching a lessons, and we gotta be mindful, Mushe. It's not about beating and teaching a lesson, because nobody's there to be beaten and taught a lesson. So Mushe Chinkman, humble yourself, as we say in GT especially. Humble yourself. This is not about beating and teaching. This is about unity. It's about it ought to be about a clean race. That is what it's about. Politics, yes. You might get 1 or 2 lashes and scratches in the whole long run. You're gonna get some scratches, but at the end of the day, not about injuring and blood sport and get out of the race, because these folks who are in the race will have to remain as part of the process in order to defeat the big enemy in the camp. And the big enemy in the camp is not. It's not any of these guys here. They're not the enemies. It's politics. They're running for office. And that is what democracy is all about. And that is what some of you guys got to understand. Put the emotions aside. We all get that way at times. Don't get me wrong. But let's get to the point here. These guys have been nominated. I believe Miss Balda Lawrence got a couple. Miss Amanza Wharton Desir got some nominations. Mr. Carl Greenwich, I was surprised that he got a nomination. He hasn't been active with us in the opposition for a while. But somebody, I think 2 groups a nomination. We are not sure whether he is going to accept the nomination or not. We don't know as yet whether he's going to accept. We don't know whether Ms. Valda Lauren or not. If Ms. Simona Brooms is going to accept the nomination or not. We just don't know whether Dr. Gary Best will accept the nomination. They have all been nominated. But what we are certain about, is that one man will accept that nomination as leader to run for the leader of the party. And y'all know who that individual is, right? Aubrey Compton Norton. He got, I believe, 177. 177. And so in the coming days, we will get to see whether senior counsel, a member of parliament, he's also the shadow minister of legal affairs, will remain in the race. The bell, we just heard the bell rang, ting-a-ling-a-ling. It's out there now. The nominations are in. The nominations are supposed to be official. And we understand, Ms. Deborah Archer, that nomination is not the vote. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying nomination is the vote, but nomination is basically the first part, the process. And these individuals have all been nominated. We will see if they are going to, and I think Deborah's point, I will touch on Deborah's point shortly. Thank you, Deborah Archer, that is, for that good point. Nomination is not the overall vote. On the day in question, they will all have to vote. Okay, good point. Thank you, Deborah. I was losing some sleep there for a moment. Thank you, Deborah Archer. Nomination is basically where someone within a group raise a finger to nominate someone to run for the leadership of the party. And as Deborah Archer has indicated, it is not the final vote. But what it serves, it can possibly show you the direction of where, that's my opinion, possibly the votes will be going. We don't know that as yet. We don't know. But what we know is that 177 of the 218 groups have voted to nominate Aubrey Compton Norton. And the others have also received nominations to run for the leadership of the party. So they're all there. Aubrey Compton Norton, Valda Ann Lawrence, Carl Greenwich, Amanza Walton Desir, Gary Best, and the senior counsel, Roysdale Ford. All of them have received nominations. Now it's up to them to decide whether they are going to accept the nomination or not. Whether they're going to accept it or not, we don't know. Whether some are going to throw in the towel and say, look, I'm not going to run for the leadership of the party, but I'm going to run for chairmanship. All of them except Aubrey Norton is not running for chairmanship. Aubrey is running for leader, and that's it. The others have been nominated to run for the leadership of the party and also chairmanship. So we don't know what's going to happen. We have to hear from them in the coming days. But what we want to say here on 107.1 FM is that we want to wish all the candidates, I know they are going to accept for various positions, but we want to wish them all the best. It's politics. It's politics. There's got to be a winner, and we want the entire process to be transparent. At every level, it has got to be transparent. No jiggery pokery. Let's bring Wayne Caesar. Wayne, good night. Your take, I'm not sure if you have observed any other nominations before, nomination day for Congress. I'm not sure whether you have paid attention to any before or whatever. But what is your take on what you saw earlier?
Yes, good evening, Mark, and good evening to all our listeners and
Yes,
viewers.
good evening.
Yeah, Mark, I thought it was a very smooth process today. And by the way, this was my first, so I really had to sit down and really pay attention to what was happening. But it was a very smooth process. And one thing I admire, it was very democratic in nature. You had all the different regions coming in with their groups, one at a time. and, placing their votes, their nominations. So it was a very, very healthy process, I believe.
Okay, so it's a healthy process. This is your first time, like maybe many others who have observed and getting to understand that process. I'm not sure if Sherwin E. Green has ever experienced this sort of process. Maybe we'll have him sometime on to talk about his first experience, his maiden experience. Please, Sherwin, if you wish to come on sometime, let us know. We'd like to hear your first experience in this whole political fray. But outside of that, you're not surprised that all of these individuals have been nominated, are you?
No, I am not. I am not surprised at all on the statistics that we would have seen based on nomination day to day. It's exactly what I would have expected in my own personal analysis that I would have done. And listen, it was impressive for the incumbent.
Share for us that personal analysis on these individuals. Let's start with Carl Greenwich. What's your personal analysis on him?
Well, listen, Carl Greenwich is an exceptional professional. I expected him to get some votes, right? Not too many, because you haven't been hearing too much about Carl Greenwich in this whole process. It's been mainly about the incumbent leader of the opposition, the Honorable Aubrey C. Norton, the Honorable Roysdale Ford, and of course the Honorable Shadow Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ms. Amanzo Walton this year. It's been about those three candidates for the most part. But I expected Carl Greenwich to get some votes. I expected Gary Best to get some votes. And of course, Ms. Fowler Lawrence, she's been in the party and been active in the party for a very long time. So I am not surprised that she would have gotten a few votes. And also Ms. Simona Brooms, who is a very, very, very active professional on the ground with the people. So I am not surprised.
So you're not surprised. You're not surprised that Simona Brooms is in the midst of this nomination.
Not at all.
Okay,
Mark.
And in terms of the weather was a little bad, but things have gotten better, the showers and so forth. But I like the drummings and I like the process. Not too many folks as what we're accustomed seeing nominations day to be like. For those of you who have been following and understand nominations day and the process and the crowds and so forth in the past. You did say that this is your first experience. But what is your take in terms of you did say the process was smooth. Based on what we saw, the process was smooth. Again, based on what we saw, we have not heard anything. And the mischievous media houses, they have not reported anything at all. So it went very smoothly, unlike Tanti Morals and them when they had their so-called Congress. Nobody knew anything. It was secretive until a bunch of individuals got placed on the executive, all of one ethnicity, and that's of the PPP I'm talking about, all of one ethnicity on the executive. And these are the folks in the PPP who oftentimes love to boast and brag and talk about a multiracial party. So you're impressed with what you saw today. At least I'm glad that you've said that you've admitted that this is your first. You now understand the process to some extent of nomination?
Yes, I do understand the process very well, Mark. And I like the way they did it with all the regions coming in with their different groups. That give, individuals who are looking at it and seeing this process for the first time a real good understanding of how things work. I know they had 218 groups, which is a lot. And this is democracy. Today, democracy was a great demonstration of democracy. 218 groups. Mr. Norton getting 179 of those groups, which equates, when rounded, to around 83%. That was impressive. Mr. Roysdale Ford had 20 groups, which I thought was very good also. The Honorable Amanzo Walton this year, she had 9. And everybody else was in the single digits after that. But I thought that it was an impressive show by the PNCR and their delegates. And viewing this for the first time, Mark, I thought that Congress place was crowded, overcrowded. I mean, this is the second time I'm seeing this. I saw it for the bingo that they had, and now I'm seeing it again. So this is very consistent, and it's very good for the party, I must say.
Well, indeed, if you're now joining us, 31 minutes, 31 minutes after 9 o'clock, nomination day is over. The folks have decided who they want, and nomination day is just to nominate a candidate. The voting begins. That's the big one. The voting begins on the 28th to the 30th of June. The voting. That's the big baby. That's the big baby. Somebody said that recently there's, what is it, the horse racing that just over? Some Triple Crown. Yeah, the Triple Crown. Sometimes, and some people are going to get upset, but it is politics. Sometimes it's not the favorite in the race that wins. There's a long shot. And again, I say this because nomination doesn't say that the race is over, right? Some of them bumps going to raise. The race is not yet over. The race begins on the 20th of June. That's when all of the delegates will have an opportunity to cast their votes. Whether for Aubrey Norton, whether for Roysdale Ford, whether for Amanza Walton, whether for Simona Brooms, or the others. The race begins on the 28th of June. All right, so, hey, we will leave this for a moment. We will leave it for a moment, and we will go to the airport. Touch on the airport. Have you seen in the richest, supposed to be the richest economy, and the airport lights, runway lights, were not working at all? Take a bite of that.
Mark, extremely embarrassing. Extremely embarrassing. After you spoke of this power ship and getting this power ship hooked up, and this power ship is going to be able to solve, most of the issue we're having when it comes to power and light. And you have not seen any change in the posture at GPL as far as, consumers experiencing blackout. And then our international airport of all places having to divert all air traffic. What if one of those planes coming in was low on fuel? Just what if? It's dangerous, Mark. That is extremely dangerous. And that is something that needs to be looked into, that the airports, the two international airports in Guyana must have standby generators to generate power, because we know that we have a power and light issue. There is no trying to deny it. We know it, we see it. And Mark, all of these monies that have been budgeted to take care of all of these issues, and yet we stay here and we're in the same position. Nothing has changed. Makes you wonder what is happening with all this money.
Well, the listeners already know what is happening with all of the money. Skullduggery, corruption upon corruption upon corruption, billions of dollars at the airport. I recall the PPP, the corrupt PPP. They were talking about what the coalition government did, and the coalition government wasted money for the airport. All these allegations, frivolous allegations by these PPP PACUs in office right now. But we saw a better handling, better management of the airport under the coalition than we see happening under these PACUs. Every single day, some sort of complaint and corruption and mismanagement at the airport. Friends and cronies are being allowed to go out with drugs and smuggling gold and all these things happening there. You interviewed David Patterson recently, and lots of people have kudos for David when he was the Minister of Infrastructure. Sorry. Your take on all of the kudos for the coalition and what they did.
Mark, the coalition didn't just manage Guyana Power and Light better than the installed PPP regime. They have managed everything, just about everything, better than this installed government. On the side of the coalition, Mark, there's a lot of excellent professionals And when we talk about government from a holistic perspective, the opposition is part of the government. But the PPPC is just full of nonsense that they wouldn't pick out and leverage someone with the knowledge of a David Patterson and say, David, come on board. Tell us everything that you need and we will provide it so that we can fix this deficiency when it comes to power and light in Guyana. They're not smart enough to do that, Mark. And Mark, hence my reasons for saying that I prefer a coalition government over a normal one-party government, because with a coalition, different perspectives is brought to the table. It's not just one-dimensional. It's Jack Dio all the time, Mark. This guy's not a smart guy. So we're not going to go anywhere with Jack Dio at the helm and the PPPC. Guyana is going nowhere.
Mr. Caesar, I think everybody agrees that Jack Dio is not the smartest at all, not even close to being smart. He is the opposite of the Midas touch, because everything he touches, they don't turn to gold. Everything he touches destroys. Every single thing, from the sugar factory out there in Skeldon, from Amila Falls, from the cable that he destroyed the entire Linden Soosdike Highway, from the one laptop per family, from the sugar industry. Every single thing that Paku Jack Dio touches turn to the opposite of gold. Every single thing is destroyed. This guy has become a parasite. He has become an eyesore for Guyana, the entire Guyana. He's a bloodsucker. He's a destructionist. He should have no place in any leadership. In fact, he should be right there in Camp Street or Luzignan pasture, grazing in one of those prisons. That's where he should be, not at the helm of Guyana, not as no second vice president or whatever. No, enough is enough. And the people will have their opportunity to vote these vagabonds out of office next elections. And the elections, I noticed some people are saying that it's going to be a snap elections. I doubt that, but what is your take on that, snap elections?
Mark, the possibility of a snap elections is more than possible, because going straight up against the opposition right now for the PPPC, and Mark, mind you, this is if the election is free and fair. Going straight up against the opposition, they don't have a chance right now. They do not, with a free and fair elections. But if the opposition laps in some area and there is something out there on the opposition that is very troubling, the PPPC can say, okay, let's go now. They're a little weak here. Let's go for it. And even with that, Mark, it's going to be a long shot. Okay, these guys, right, the only thing that they can do right now,
basically, they had a snap elections in 2015. It was a snap elections, and they have lost. They lost that snap elections because Donald Ramatar, I'm not sure if you recall the entire story, that he prorogued Parliament and he called elections, and that's exactly what happened. So the snap elections has left a sour taste in their mouth, and I doubt that they would want to call a snap elections. I noticed Sean Anthony Ben is definitely onto something, and Sean has been around in politics for a while, so he has an idea as to what he's talking about as it pertains to snap elections. And every day I try to do some research on the ground to see whether or not there is going to be snap elections. And more, based on whatever little research I've been doing, I doubt that there will be snap elections. If they have snap elections, I hope the opposition is prepared for snap elections. And I'd like to disagree with you in saying that it's going to be an outright, that the opposition is going to beat them. We all want the opposition to beat them, but we've got to be realistic. If you have a heavily divided house, and fighting here and fighting there and so forth and so on, it's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely that you can beat anybody with a divided house. They have to first get their house in order. They have to, as soon as the Congress is over, there must be the healing process. And the healing process must be done expeditiously. Otherwise, snap elections or not, cat gonna eat their dinner. I have seen some people on the PNC side, oh, they give up, they quit, they this, they that, they're frustrated. That's not going to win elections. It's just not. I don't know, your thoughts, please.
No, Mark, you're 100% correct. After the Congress, everyone needs to come together as one unit, be on the same page. And I think the Honorable Comrade Hamilton Green said he's going to be speaking to them. So I expect that speech would be very, very impactful. Also, there is the Honorable Mr. Lincoln Lewis there. They can also have him speak to them. You know, listen, Mark, if you have a leader who is duly elected, okay, even if you don't like the leader, Mark, you have to respect the position. From the time you don't respect the position also, then you're not representing your constituency and you need to hand that seat over. When you're elected to represent a constituency, it's not about you. It's about the people that you represent. So you just can't have people merely occupying seats and it's not executing and following the leaders. It's about execution. So if you know that you're not going to follow the lead of the leader, you know, and be on the same page with the leader. And listen, Mark, I'm not saying this from a one-way street. Also, the leader has to be able to come down and speak to his MPs and empower them and sell, you know, sell his points to them also. But once they're on the same page, Mark, and everybody's on the same page in the opposition, it's going to be tough to beat them. That's my take on that. It's going to be very tough to beat them because the Guyanese people they're not stupid, Mark. They understand what would have happened to them over the past 3.5 to 4 years, right? August is going to be 4 years, right? They're very understanding of what would have happened to them, and I know that they don't want that for another 5 years. Mark, right now our public education is being threatened, you know, and I never thought that I would see the thing.
Before we get to the public education,
Yeah.
We know that it's a mess, and we want to welcome all of you who just joined us. But also, it in politics also calls for strong leadership, and I think at some point in time we need to see stronger leadership and get all of your people come back under the tent and let us just do this. Strong leadership. Let's not run away from that. It's just not a one-sided affair. It takes two hands to clap. And while some of them might some supporters, yeah, we got strong leaders. Something is missing, and we need to find out what is missing and fix it before the next elections, because cat going to eat all the dinner. Some of them could dance, jump up, all what they want. At the end of the day, we need strong leadership as well, or stronger leadership. Now, let's get back to the groups though, because we're looking at the time. I just got a message from one of those long-time PNC person, 40-something, 50-something years in the PNC. And let me say good night to her here. She's just reminding me and say, hey, the groups, their members, and each nomination has to be verified for membership, financial status, etc. So those who have nominated the groups now, they'll have to verify the members of the group to see that they are bona fide members and that they paid up their membership dues. So the process is not yet over. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. 40, 50 years in the PNC. Wow. I haven't seen her in a while, but good night and thanks for that information. Mr. Wayne Caesar, what else is happening? Cost of living high. You mentioned the education system. Last Friday, we showed some cereal and a little bit of milk and all these different things. What is your take, sir?
Well, Mark, cost of living continues to deteriorate in Guyana because the government is not doing anything to temper cost of living. I mean, a lot of people are complaining, since COVID, they have seen a major rise in inflation and cost of living. And I agree. And this is not just in Guyana, it's across the world. But a lot of the countries, especially the developed countries, have done a lot of implementation to temper inflation. Of course, one of the biggest things, if you want to temper inflation, is wages. Wages needs to get better. And Mark, we say this thing about we speak a lot on cost of living. When we look at cost of living in Guyana, it's not really the cost of living alone, but for the most part, Mark, the wage increases. The increases in wages. There have not been a direct relationship between the increases in wages with the inflation. And that is what is affecting the people of Guyana. Their expenses outweighs their income. Their expenditure is so much more than their income. So they're struggling. And this is going to be continuous until government finds a way to temper this. And Mark, with the last budget, before the last budget, I was calling for a stimulus package to the people of Guyana, and that is exactly my reason for calling for that. Because the people of Guyana needs help, Mark. They cannot eat roads and bridges. They cannot eat buildings. Okay? Infrastructure just does not fill the stomachs of their children. They need better wages across the board, both in the public sector and in the private sector.
Somebody's saying here that pumpkin, Allison Bennett is saying pumpkin is $500 a piece. And we produce pumpkin in Guyana. $500 per piece. Thank you, Allison Bennett, for that piece of information. A shame and disgrace. They cannot manage the economy at all. And what are folks out in your area, Plaisance, have to say about these things as you speak with them?
Well, Mark, a lot of people that I've spoken to in Plaisance and other places across the country, they said that going to Sunday market, Saturday market, or whatever it is a challenge. And that's why I would have encouraged on one of your programs, on your programs, I would have called on Irfan Ali to go to the market with a few of the normal mothers in Guyana and see what they have to deal with.
He does. Yeah, he goes to the market. The last time we know that he went to the market was at Monrepo, and he gave out $1 million to Polori and all manner of things. So that's when he goes to the market to play silly, dirty, racist politics. If you're now joining us, I notice Ernest Elliott. Good night to you, Ernest. Ernest is a stalwart of the PNC. He's probably been in the PNC for over maybe 50 years, right, Ernest? My good friend. Forgive me for calling you Ernest. It should be Uncle Ernest. But Ernest Elliott, we welcome you on this platform at any time to even talk about the nomination process. I'm sure you have been in several of those nominations day and so forth. And one of these good days, we can have you right here on 107.1 FM to talk about the process. The reason why I put Ernest on there is Ernest, 60 years, man. That's way older than me. At least it's not older than Wayne, though, but it's 60 years. Can you believe it, Wayne? 60 years the man has been in the party, and I'm sitting here on this show calling the man Ernest. Mr. Elliott, thank you so much for your service. We really do appreciate it. But look at what is happening here. Look at what Mr. Elliott just said there. They just got blackout after 2 hours. 2 hours of blackout there on the East Coast. You're not surprised there, right, Wayne?
No, Mark, not at all. And this is going to continue, and it's going to keep getting worse because they don't have an idea of what to do. They don't have a patch for this. Like I said, they would need expertise to come in, experts to come in order to take care of this issue. They have had, what, 4 years to take care of it. Nothing has been done, right? And they refuse to leverage the necessary experts who can come in and make the situation better for the people. And that just comes to show that the PPPC does not care about the Guyanese people. They don't think of the fact that children are home in the evening and needs to study for whatever exams they may have or homeworks that needs to be done. People working from home that needs to have, the lights running in order for them to execute their duties at work. They're not thinking about all these things. Yet they're trying to do online nursing school and online this and online that. No, you're not in a position to do these things. You can't even keep the power on. How can you have online nursing school? How are these training nurses are supposed to get the work done? Right? What about the teachers that are training at the teachers training college? What about them? So all across the board, this install regime continues to fail the people of Guyana.
Speak on. Continues. Of course, they have failed the people of Guyana for a long time. They continue to fail the people. I agree with you 100%. We're going to try to go to Guyana. They just got their blackout back. Well, they say blackout back on, but electricity is back on in Guyana. And we are going to try to go, and hopefully we'll have our guy there. Lemon, can you patch us through to Mr. Elliott? Mr. Elliott, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Good
really
night.
hearing you.
Good night. How are you doing?
I am trying, by the grace of God, and keeping my head above water.
Well, let me
I
ask.
am taking
60 years with the PNC. Talk to us about being a member of the PNC for 60 plus years. Talk to us, please, about that briefly.
Mark, briefly, I saw from the YSM, and that's on the 30th of January 1964, and that's on my board date. And I continued serving. I went through the ranks on the East Coast. Then I joined the adult group. And then at that time we had dual membership. So I was chairman of the Arlington Grove YSM group, YSM district, and assistant secretary to the adult district. And then when the constitution changed from 35 to 25 for the YSM, I stayed with the party 35 years and onwards. And I continued serving the party at all levels, the district, the regional, and I went to Parliament. I went to Central Executive representing Region 4. And after the 2021 regional 2021 Congress, advisably by our leader, to take it easy now. I am big, and I was given some responsibilities, like advising the regional committee, the district management committee, and even the RDC. So I pleased, and I'm happy to be around in the party. I served all the leaders.
And when you say all the leaders, we got to remind the people that 60 years, obviously you served under President Burnham, President Hoyt, President Granger, opposition leader Robert Corbyn, opposition leader, the current opposition leader, Mr. Norton as well.
Yes, everybody I served under.
You know, you got to write a book.
I was faithful.
Yeah.
And I was disciplined. Given if I'm not satisfied, then I will come back and say, well, no, well, Chief, well, no, we should have done so. And on that note, they will, sit together and work it out, and then we move on.
Quickly before we go with you, though, nomination day is today. Can you please break down the nomination process, sir?
Well, I enjoyed the nomination presentation today. It was one of the best I've enjoyed in my 60 years of the party. It was so hyped up to see that the various regions coming in with their teams and the representatives, the 3 representatives or 4, going in to make their presentations. In fact, nomination starts at the group level. The groups will meet based upon the correspondence you receive from the General Secretary. You worked upon the nomination sheets. That's for the party offices and for your delegates. The nomination has been, the group meetings have been held, and the nominations are done at each group, recorded in the minutes. And then you make your presentation to the district. Then the district will then send them on to the region, which happened yesterday. And today, the regions had the privilege or the great opportunity this party offers to us as a democratic party to make your submissions to the administrator and team.
And so they have done just that, the process that we've observed from the outside.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So
yeah, that was very nice. I enjoyed it.
What happened?
I felt happy.
I saw you there, and it seemed as though you were enjoying the drums as well.
Yes, everything I enjoyed. I enjoyed it because I said to one, I think Travis Chase, I said, well, I am going down now. I'm preparing now to continue to assist until the next general elections. And then I will say, that's it for me now with the party, but I will still remain a member of the party. I've received a medal of the party's 60th anniversary. And I am completely happy. The leader is very much concerned about my health too, but I am standing up to that. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
And, you know, on behalf of all of the folks who are watching, thank you so much for your service. I know of a lot of things that you've done personally. I've known you over the years, and you continue to look as good as you look. But before we go, though, this is not the end of the process. After nomination, what happens?
Now, it goes to the accreditation committee, and the accreditation committee will now check to see if all the delegates are in order, if you're financial, you know, and that sort of thing, and to see if you've submitted your quota. If you're entitled to 6 delegates and you submit 8, well, then you're called upon to say, look, you have to take out 2 names.
Got you. And then after that, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. And then the groups are now notified that, look, well, your delegates are in order and whatever it is. So then you're prepared now for your Congress. And that is where now the candidates, my understanding, might be given the opportunity now to visit the groups, visit the regions. I remember we did that in 2021 elections and allow candidates to visit. I don't know what will happen this trip. But then once they went around, they realized that, look, well, people have already made up their minds.
In your years of experience, would you say that the length of time for Congress to be held, which was a 1-month period, do you think that that is sufficient or it's reasonable?
I think it's reasonable because everybody, they were all calling for Congress. I think it was reasonable because groups started to prepare. And, you know, it's something that we may have to look at, but I think we had enough time to look at our delegates, call your group meetings, and make your nominations.
Mr. Caesar, any question for Mr. Ernest Elliott, please, sir? Go ahead.
Yes. Mark, I just wanted to ask Mr. Elliott one thing. Sir, were you you would have worked in Mr. Barnum's time also, right? Were you in the Aslington, Golden Grove, Nabaclis area at that time when you worked for Mr. Barnum?
All the time.
Okay.
I served there. I served at President's College as a community coordinator. I was at Camp Cocos and that's the National Service Camp. There was a sergeant in charge there. So I worked with Bonham. Bonham used to come and sit down at your doorstep.
Mr. Elliott, did you work with Comrade June?
Well, yes, Wainwright June, former now deceased. He was the coordinator. He was the coordinator.
Yeah, that's actually my grandfather, by the way.
Okay, so that's Wayne Caesar's only question for you. That Wainwright.
I just wanted to make sure.
and Caesar, we have some cousins. I discussed with him the other day from Ansgrove. With Caesar's from Ansgrove.
Okay. So this is a family affair here, Mr. Elliott. Mr. Elliott, before we go, how optimistic, because there is this perception, and we're seeing it out there, not just perception, that the camp is not as unified as it should be. How optimistic are you that after the Congress that things will get better?
I think that we are unified based upon what I am seeing, and I am there a bit often. I think that after the conference, I think people should use their judgment. And if you're really and truly a party man or woman, that whatever the outcome of the elections, that we all should come together, because the biggest thing after the Congress is to challenge our focus and our energies towards the next regional and general elections. I think we all have to pull ourselves together and support the leader elected and his team.
Well said. 3 minutes after, what's the mood like on the ground? You just said that 2 hours of blackout. Is this like daily again?
Well, this is happening the other day. We had 3 times in one day.
Wow. I
was at home. I'm home since the blackout. I couldn't do many things. I had a conversation to go online, but I couldn't do it. But there's no one. Now it's time to bed for bed.
Mr. Ernest Elliott, I thank you so much for your time, sir. We thank you so much for your time. We thank you for your service. Thank you for your friendship. It's like we have known each other for over 60-something years.
Yes, Mark. Yes, Mark.
Give my regards to your family as well, Mr.
Yes,
Elliott.
okay, I'll do that.
One second. Wainwright's grandson may have a final question for you. Wayne, anything else for Mr. Elliott?
No, I just want to say to Mr. Elliott, I totally agree with him. The process today was very, very entertaining. It was really democratic in nature, and hey, I'm glad that the two of us is on the same page with that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Wayne.
Yeah.
And I'm always tuning into the program. And I think tonight I had the opportunity to make some presentation and some explanation. Thank you very much, Mark, for having me.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we would salute you for your service, sir. Thank you. And oftentimes people don't say thank you for people like yourself who have been so dedicated. But I just want to personally thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
When I'm there in Guyana, we'll have a Mobby.
Mobby's a big drink,
Thank you so much, Ernest Elliott. Appreciate it, sir.
Yes, okay. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, folks. 60 plus years of being in the party. 60 plus years. Ernest Elliott, so much for your service, sir. We appreciate it. Mr. Caesar, I'm glad that your first question was whether he knows your grandfather. He knows your grandfather, area coordinator, big guy in the politics. So yes, we get the message. Politics running in your blood. Politics running in your blood and your brother's blood. Gavin, where's Gavin? He's not on tonight. So Wayne, as we look, because you are preparing for your big interview, with the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Compton Norton, and people, Mr. Norton is going to be on with Wayne Caesar this Saturday, right, Wayne, at 7 o'clock, 7
Yes,
p.m.
sir. 7
Aubrey
p.m. sharp.
Norton is going to be his solo interview. He's going to be there all by himself. I know there will be some of your what do you call it, your advisors. Some of them in the audience there might call you and advise you, right? But Wayne Caesar will have the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Compton Norton. He will be Wayne Caesar's guest this Saturday. And as a result of that, I have decided not to invite the leader on this week, but I'll have the leader on next week. And I want to have the other candidates on as well to give folks, and I'm making this clear, to give folks equal time right here on 107.1 FM. As we prepare to wrap up, Wayne, anything else that's that you wish to talk about that's happening there in Guyana?
Well, Mark, I'm very, very concerned about our public education system, because it seems as if Barra Jagdeo is trying to take that away from the Guyanese people. And when you talk about protest, that is something that protest is more than needed. You cannot, parents cannot, Mark, in Guyana, based on the wages that they make.
Jagdeo is a comic.
All right. Thank you so much. Somebody just said Jagdeo is a comic indeed. Yeah. Hey, we gotta love our listeners. We gotta love our folks. Whether we all share the same opinion, or we gotta love our folks. Jagdeo is a comic, quite timely. But continue, please, Mr. Caesar.
Mark, to say that you're going to subsidize parents with cash grants to send their children to private school, it's like putting cat to watch milk. Parents can't even feed their children as it is, and you're going to subsidize and give them money to send the children to private school.
It's corruption. It's corruption.
Of course.
It's corruption.
Of course.
Because the private schools, those teaching, they will give it to their friends and their cronies. They're not going to give me the contract. They're not going to give you the contract. They're not going to give Sean Anthony Ben the contract. They're not going to give Lynette Nelson the contract, or Ann John. We're seeing everyone is saying, agreeing that, Wayne, it is corruption upon corruption upon corruption. They're going to give it to their friends and their cronies. And some of these people that they'll have do the private schools probably didn't even graduate from the University of Iflat. A bunch of dunstugs. Shame and disgrace on them. I'm not sure, Wayne, last Saturday whether you saw this kind of so-called cereal expired. We're hearing that it's expired.
Wow.
That's what's happening in Guyana.
And it's being served in school, Mark.
Yes,
it's being served. Wow. Wow. That's a crying shame, Mark. That's a crying shame. You know, if our farmers in Guyana would be subsidized better, you know, by this install regime, we would have better breakfast items on the table for children in the morning, and lunch and all these type of things. If they would take care of the farming community correctly and not have us doing all the importing, Mark, that we are doing today.
These guys in the PPP, they have no vision. They have nothing. They can't run a country. They can't even run a cake shop. I know some people who are running cake shops, and they're running it very effectively. These Pakus got to go. They're a bunch of bandits, a bunch of bloodsuckers. Quickly before we go, let me respond to Sandra Brotherson. Good night to you, ma'am. She said, Mark, would you be on with Wayne program? No. That is Wayne's program. And oftentimes I say to Wayne, whenever he asks me to go on, no. That is your program. Wayne has got to get the strength. I think he's getting better and better, and I give him some kudos to that. So let Wayne handle his interview how he wants to handle his interview. I know some of his advisors in the audience going to call him and try to guide him, but I'm going to stay clear of Wayne and his interview with the leader of the opposition. I will give him his graded marks afterwards, though. Wayne, quickly before we go, sir, you're going to be on with the leader. I think you guys had that conversation. You will be on with the leader this Saturday at 7 p.m.
Yes, sir. So
good.
This Saturday I'm over to you, and I encourage everybody to join this Saturday and over to you at 7 p.m. sharp. We will have the honorable leader of the opposition, Mr. Aubrey C. Norton, the incumbent leader of the opposition, will be with me. Yes. And Mark, for my closing
live
remarks.
on over to you.
Yes. On 107.1 FM. I think we lost Mark there for a minute, so I'm going to just keep chatting away.
Yep.
Mark, in my closing remarks, I just want to say to the Guyanese people.
All right, so we are having we are having some technical problems. Yep.
Yeah, I'm here, Mark. Can you hear me? Okay, well, I'm here. So in my closing remarks, I would like to say to the Guyanese people, all 6 ethnic groups, what, from a holistic perspective, the country would have experienced thus far under this PPPC regime needs to come to a crashing halt come 2025. Okay, the coalition will be strong. They will be one group knitted together on one accord, operating as a well-oiled machine and ready for elections come 2025. I am very, very confident of that. I am also very, very confident of victory. The Guyanese people are not going to continue to be marginalized, to have just about 50% of the country living below the poverty line, to see infrastructure going up all around them and they cannot get a piece of land for themselves, to see their fellow Guyanese being bulldozed and removed from property, removed from squatting areas also. They allow the people to squat, the people clear the area look beautifully and well cleared, and then the government come and remove them, put them somewhere else to clear the area, and to do the same thing over and over instead of paying to have areas cleared to move people. So they continue to use the Guyanese people. And come 2025, Mark, I am very, very, very competent that the Guyanese people will make that change. They need to see better management of their resources, amongst other things. You people sit there in Guyana, you are very, very wealthy. It is just bad management of your resources. You guys need to change that narrative come 2025.
Yeah, we are having some technical
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, but we are having some technical difficulties. Appreciate your time, Mr. Caesar, and looking forward for that interview with you and Aubrey Norton, the leader of the opposition, this coming Saturday. Thank you, sir. Good. And to all of our listeners as well, thank you all so much for tuning in this evening. I know you've had some fun in the, the audience there, back and forth with each other. People are asking whether I am in Guyana. You're asking whether I'm in Guyana. You'll see whether I'm in Guyana or not, but it happens sometimes, technical difficulties. All right, see you guys tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM, the station with a difference, the station that balances things out, the station that says, hey, we're going to give you all of the candidates. You guys decide. Simple as that. All of the candidates we're going to give you. I'm out of here. Thank you, Jamal Aziz, and all of you. What else? We've got to go. And thanks to our on-the-phone guest, Mr. Ernest Elliott, as well. And to all of you, God bless you. See you tomorrow, same place, same time.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata, Francis C. Vietnam. And since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my ex next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by 1 vote, they're losing it by data.
Oh, Jesus Christ. If cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Brenscop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Brenscop upon the radio like